Today, we are diving deep into a feeling that so many of us know, but hardly ever put into words. We're talking about the psychology of useful love.
So let me just start by asking you something, and I want you to be really honest with yourself. Have you ever had that quiet, sinking feeling that if you stopped, if you just stopped being the helper, the fixer, the go-to person, that the love and appreciation from the people around you would just kind of vanish?
If that question hits a little too close to home, if you're nodding along right now, I really need you to hear this next part. You are so far from being alone in this. It's an incredibly common feeling.
So let's unpack this. What is this feeling really? We're going to start by looking at the huge gap between how society sees this behavior and what's actually happening under the hood psychologically. Check out this contrast because it's pretty stark. On the one hand, society absolutely praises this stuff, right? We get labels like selfless, generous, or strong. But when you look at it through a psychological lens, a completely different story emerges. What looks like selflessness is often a learned survival mechanism. Generosity can be tied to anxious attachment. And that strength? Yeah, a lot of the time it's actually a deep-seated pattern of self-neglect.
And here is the single most important thing to get your head around. This is not just who you are. It's not some fixed personality trait you were born with. It's a belief system, like an operating system for your relationships, that got installed a long time ago.
Okay, so if it's an operating system, where did it come from? We're going to dig into how this is really a learned survival skill, one that's shaped by something called conditional love.
The official term for this is conditional positive regard. It basically means love with strings attached. It's when you learn, usually as a kid, that approval and affection aren't a given. They're a reward you get after you do something good, like being super helpful, getting great grades, or just being responsible. Love becomes a transaction. And when a child goes through that again and again, their brain learns a very simple, very powerful rule for survival. It hardwires this core belief: I am lovable only when I provide value. That idea becomes the foundation for everything else. So, once that belief is running in the background, how does it shape our inner world? Let's get into the psychological roots and the very specific question your brain starts asking over and over again.
Now, you'd think the question that would be on a constant loop in your head would be, am I loved? Right? It seems to make the most sense, but that's not actually what the brain focuses on.
Instead, the subconscious mind swaps that question out for another one, a much more high-stakes one. Am I useful? Usefulness becomes the new currency for love and for safety. And the fallout from that one little question is huge. Suddenly, your worth as a person is completely tied to your function, what you can do. This is why just resting, doing nothing, can feel so wrong and uncomfortable. It's why saying no can feel genuinely dangerous, like you're about to be rejected. Because deep down, your brain has learned a simple equation: usefulness equals safety.
Okay, let's connect the dots from that inner belief to how you actually act. We're going to look at the hidden, everyday patterns that show up in your relationships because of this.
It creates this really fundamental imbalance in how you interact with people. When you're the one giving, you're offering advice, helping out, it actually feels safe. You're in control. You feel like you're earning your spot in that person's life. But the second the tables are turned and it's time for you to receive something, it feels awkward, right? Almost unearned, like now you're in debt to them.
And this leads to some pretty clear patterns. You tend to become the emotional caretaker for everyone. There's often a deep, nagging fear of being replaced. I mean, if your value is what you do, what happens if someone comes along who can do it better? It means you constantly push your own needs to the back burner, and you become a master at anticipating what other people need just to keep things smooth and avoid any possible conflict.
So, we've walked through the what and the why of all this. But now, let's get to the most important part. Let's talk about how to move forward. Let's talk about reclaiming your inherent worth and moving beyond just being useful.
So if you've been listening to all of this and you've just had that feeling in your gut that this psychology felt uncomfortably, almost painfully accurate,
Then let's go back to where we started, because it's the most important thing to remember. You are not alone. And even more than that, please hear me on this. You are not broken. This was a brilliant adaptation to your circumstances. It was a survival pattern that worked. It's not a flaw in who you are.
So if you take only one single thing away from our time together today, I hope it's this truth. Your worth is not, and it has never, ever been defined by what you can do for other people. It's just there. It's inherent.
And I'll just leave you with a question to carry with you. Not a huge piece of homework, just something to think about. What is one small way you can value yourself today, completely separate from your usefulness to anyone else?